Well, what's up, everybody? This is Shane at Palen Music Center, and very excited today because we get to have an interview with Tim Hawley. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
That's right.
Okay. And Tim has a really cool story, and if there's anything that I like cool stories. And if you've been watching this at all, I talk about stories because I think that stories and music go interchangeably in a lot of ways. So, Tim, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself, and then we'll get into where you found the guitar and the maker of this guitar and all that type of fun stuff.
Well, let's start with, I moved to Springfield in 2010.
Okay.
And the reason was to raise my kids. We were living in Los Angeles. I was a photographer working for large advertising agencies. And I had met my wife. We'd been married for 5 years. We'd started having kids, and I'd grown up in the Midwest, and I knew I didn't want to raise my family in Los Angeles. Long story, very, very short, we picked Springfield as the best place in the entire world to raise our family.
Okay.
Didn't really know anybody here, vacationed here, checked the whole place out, and like I say, in 2010 we moved here. And I knew that in my career I was going to have a real transition at that point, you know, going from Los Angeles to Springfield. What are you going to do, Tim? And that's what everybody was saying.
Yeah.
And I figured I could take a couple of years to sort of maybe do a personal project. So I was looking around for a personal project, and I saw Ed on the evening news one night, and I knew that I had found my passion project that I was going to do.
Well, nice. So what was Ed doing? What drew you to Ed?
So this was an op-ed piece on the news, just a real quick 2-minute thing about a man in Hogscald Holler, Arkansas, who made instruments and gave them away for free.
Okay.
And I wanted to do, I was a conceptual advertising photographer, so I did people and I did products and I did food and all kinds of different things. It was more about concept. So I was looking for a personal project that would tell the story of people and maybe an object that had changed their life. That's what I had in my head. And when I saw this thing with Ed and heard his story about why he started this project, I was like, that's worth telling. That's worth putting some real time and effort into. Plus, the instruments are just so incredible to look at.
Yeah.
And so is Ed, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. That there was a folk duo that they'd interviewed that were playing some of his instruments. And so I was able to contact them.
Okay.
And through them met Ed's son, Stephen. And then Stephen interviewed me. Then Stephen introduced me to Ed and his wife, Eliza.
Nice.
And that started off the project.
Nice. How old was Ed whenever all this started?
Oh, now you're going to make me do math in my head, right? So when he started his project was 1979.
Okay.
Okay, so, and he was born around 1930, I think is what it is. So that'd be 49 years old, which is interesting because I think I was like almost 49 years old when I met him.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very God coincidental type stuff.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So this is the part that Trey told me a few weeks ago that I love this part of the story. So how did Ed Stilley,
Yeah.
Ed Stilley, how did he come to this? How did he start making his guitars? What was his story?
Nobody knows. It's a mystery, and nobody will tell me.
Yeah.
So Ed was like one of the last homesteaders in Arkansas.
Oh, cool.
In 1979, Ed was plowing his field with a mule. He was running a sorghum mill with his mule.
Yeah, like you do.
Like you do. And he's a farm preacher. Ed would stand on street corners, he'd go to the bank, wherever anybody would listen to him, he would preach. And he had 5 children, and they really pulled all their protein out of the woods and all their vegetables out of the hardscrabble garden that they had. Ed built the house they lived in, he built the barn and everything else. I mean, a true homesteader in 1979. And something happened. And the story that, as much as what I have a lot of, assumptions and stuff, but the story as far as what Ed was willing to tell me, and Eliza, his wife, was willing to tell me, was that there was a man coming to the house one night, and he was going to pull off some kind of trick. And Ed wasn't going to allow that trick to happen. And he had a gun in his lap. And being a man of God, he knew that he was in the wrong for what he was doing. But he didn't see any way out of his problem. And it was about protecting his family. And he fell asleep. And while he was asleep, he had a dream. And God told him that if he would put his gun away and go out in the barn and make instruments and give them away to the children in the holler, that God would take care of whatever this matter was. And he woke up and he put his gun on the shelf and he went out in the barn with a hacksaw and a handsaw and grabbed some paneling and an old pot. And Ed worked at a lumber mill.
Okay.
Cleanup guy at the lumber mill. So he'd get scrap lumber from the lumber mill, and he had it like an old Silvertone guitar he took apart to see how it was made, and he started making instruments.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
And did it from 1979 till when did he pass away? Did he do it up to?
He did it till about 2005.
Okay.
I started my project, like I said, I moved here in 2010, so I started my project in 2011. So he hadn't made them for a long time. He had congestive heart disease.
Okay.
And a lot of swelling in his feet and losing a lot of strength. Ed wasn't a very big person. He had huge hands though, really, really strong hands, but he was losing the strength in his hands. And so around 2005, he stopped making them.
Right about how many did he make?
That is a question that we all wish we knew.
Yeah.
Talking to Ed and how often he made them and for how long he made them, he may have made as many as 200.
Okay.
Almost certainly exceeded 100.
That's cool.
And I think we found about 40 of them for the book.
Okay, that's neat. And speaking of the book, you feel free to hold it up and stuff like that. So when did this come out?
So this is the result of the project that I started in 2011 along with Kelly Mulholland and his wife Donna.
Yeah.
They worked tirelessly to find the instruments, and I would come down and shoot them and interview the people that they gave them to. And like I say, we found about 40 of them, and we made this coffee table book. Beautiful, beautiful book. And it shows, we'll go over it later, but it shows what's inside the instruments. It tells Ed's story. It shows all the details. And Ed really couldn't even tell his own story because he just lived it and did it.
Yeah.
And so as you look at the instruments, you can kind of see how he invented stuff as it went along. To be a luthier and to create a musical instrument is a really, really refined act, and these are not refined instruments at all.
Yeah.
He made them with really heavy wood rather than the light wood that a guitar or a violin is made from. So they're super solid. This weighs more than a bass, a huge solid bass.
Yeah.
And so with the tension of the strings, he had to sort of invent what a truss rod is and put those in there, strengthening his tail pieces. Ed, as far as the fretwork went here, he just used an old guitar neck and would put lines up. Ed didn't even know that the 12th fret went right in the middle between the nut and the bridge. So the intonation gets really, really weird and squirrely as they go up. This piece right here is one that actually looks like a guitar. Yeah. As you can see here on the front of the book, this one, we call this the butterfly guitar. This was Kelly's guitar. And he just made this one really big. We think he was trying to get more tone out of it, or more bass or more volume, because the thick wood keeps volume from happening. It deadens it all. And this one was, I'll tell you, as I was making the book, when we would go and we would visit people that he had given guitars to, I would ask them, their story and how they got the guitar. And a lot of times they'd be pulling their guitar out from the barn, from the attic. They weren't really treasured items, maybe. Right. And so I wanted one so bad, right? And I would always ask people, we're doing this book and we're going to do a show. Would you mind donating your instrument? And nobody would do it. And I even tried to buy a couple of them, and nobody would sell them to me. So when Trey and I were shooting the video of Ed, we were in his workshop, and I saw this one in a back corner underneath some stuff. And I asked Miss Eliza, I said, because there was guitars around, but they were all spoken for.
Right.
So I asked Miss Eliza, I was like, whose guitar is that back there? And she said, I believe that one's Ed's. And my heart started beating faster. Right? I was like, oh, there's one left.
Yeah.
Ed's still got one left to give. And so as we made this and he told his story and he had it in his lap, I said to him, I says, Ed, do you have any left to give? Everybody who sees this video is going to want one of these things. Are there any more? And he's talked about how he stopped in 2005, and there was a long list of people who still wanted them, but he just wasn't able to hand them out anymore. And I said, well, and I told him what I just told you of how I'd met all these people and all these guitars, and I was always hoping to have one, and he got a big smile on his face. I get all choked up thinking about it. And he handed it over to me. And and I really think it's one of the finer players that he made. It's got one of the best intonations across it. I did drop, you can see a little gap here. I did drop the bridge down a little bit to get this 12th fret into the very center, so you got proper intonation, but that's all that it took. And so I got to be the person who received the very final Ed Stilley guitar.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah. And he would, asking him about making them and stuff, and it was really just a process for him to have something to do, I think, and something to give. They were so, I don't want to say poor and impoverished, but that's really what it is, right? Didn't have any money, and a very, very giving person, and so he would make them, he'd play them for a while, and he'd be on the street corner preaching, and somebody would walk by and he'd just hand them to him.
That's so neat.
The doctor that worked on his cataracts, one just showed up on his porch one day because Ed wasn't able to pay for it, but he knew where it came from.
Yeah.
And they all say, true faith, true light, have faith in God. He put that on every single instrument that he's got. And the early ones that he didn't put it on, when they would break and the owner would bring it back to Ed to get them fixed, while it was in the shop, he'd go and put that on there.
That's so cool.
And so that's how we found him, actually, was putting an ad in the newspaper titled, True Faith, True Light, Have Faith in God, and then in small print, if you know what this means and you have an instrument, please call this number.
That's so neat.
Yeah. And because Ed didn't know who he'd given them to, or how to get in touch with anybody.
Well, I guess 100 plus, and you're just giving them away. Yeah. That's so cool. So you mentioned the things that Ed would put inside the guitars. What were some of those things?
So from the very beginning, they didn't play very well. They didn't have much resonance. They didn't have much volume. And Ed prayed on the matter and was told to put an instrument inside the instrument. At least that's how he told the story to me.
Yeah.
And so he thought on that, and he knew that bottles, if you ting them, they got a ring to them. If you take a pot lid and you can almost play it like a cymbal, right?
Yeah.
The saw blades at the sawmill, when they drop on the floor, they would ring, right?
Right.
So he said, I knew there were music in those items, and so I put them inside my guitar so maybe they could grab the music and it would help bring the music out.
That's so cool.
And there's, inside mine you can see that there's
spring in there.
There's 2 springs that run across there. There are, so those are like screen door springs.
That's so cool.
A few, when my kids were little, about the time I was doing this even, they had these little plastic microphones that would reverb when you talked into them.
Yeah.
There's a spring in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's what causes the reverb.
Spring reverb. Yeah.
Spring reverb. If you put 2 springs in there at 2 different tensions,
you
get a little more reverb and a little bit different intonation. So he just put a whole bunch of stuff in there, and there's copper pipes, and if you look at the X-rays, you'll see like cans and bottles and valves and valve springs and all kinds of stuff. Of course, he's from a time where the resonator guitars were being made.
Right.
And so I think maybe that's was part of what was in his head. I don't know that for sure. But when you look at the X-rays and you see a big pot lid in there, it looks like a resonator guitar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And when he would get the resonator, and it was all happenstance, right? But when he would get the pot lid lined up with the bridge like it is on a resonator guitar, well, then stuff would start coming to life, you know? And when I got a hold of mine, and I know a little bit more about harmonics and stuff, I was like, well, I wonder what note the saw blade that is inside mine is. So I'd reach in there with a screwdriver and ding it, and then I'd try to tune that as the root to it. And I think my saw blade is a C sharp and a quarter.
Okay.
So I've got this tuned to C sharp, an open tuning of C sharp and a quarter, and kind of a minor key. I made it in a minor key because there's a lot of sadness in Ed's life, and so a little bit of
it goes for that.
Yeah, a little bit of bluesiness and sadness, but for Ed was a very happy person himself. At 17, he stopped listening to the radio. Yeah. He stopped watching TV. He didn't read books. He only read the Bible and hymnals. Yeah. And I said, well, Ed, why limit yourself so much? Yeah. And he said, well, Tim, I just got a very, very little garden here, and I got to be careful what I plant inside it.
Oh, that's good.
Isn't that poetic?
Yeah, it's very poetic.
Isn't that poetic? And he only played gospel music. He knew every verse to every hymn I have ever heard. And
well, I bet if that's only one of the things that he read, yeah.
Yeah. And when you went to his house, you'd say hello and you'd sit down to have a chat, but he'd pick up an instrument or whatever and he'd start singing, and he would sing until you left. And if he did stop singing, he would stop and he would start talking about different passages in the Bible that were going through his head and how this song, related to that. And then he'd go back in and he'd sing all 7 verses of whatever hymn that he started.
It's like a church service every time that you went to go see him.
He was very much a steward to every soul that walked through his door. And so it was difficult to have a conversation with him. Yeah. It wasn't really conversational unless you really kind of made him stop and do that. Yeah. But pretty much when I visit him, I just enjoy the music for a couple hours, and then after a while I'd say, well, Ed, I got to get back home. I really appreciate you. You coming and keeping me on the good side of things. And we'll see you next time. And I get whatever answer I needed to whatever question I had, and then we'd move on with the project.
That's so neat. So do you know where this wood came from?
Well, I imagine it came from the sawmill. Yeah. If you look at it, you can see that there's walnut here. Mm-hmm. This is probably oak here. This is probably red oak here. It's kind of pounded in together. Mm-hmm. Sides are very clear, but it's all hardwoods. Mm-hmm. And he really did just pick up the scraps. And as far as the shapes go, I asked him, because he's got some really wild shapes. Yeah. Some teardrop shapes, these big eared shapes. Yeah. He's got some that would just have one ear come out. And I asked him, I said, how did you figure out how to shape your guitars? And he said, well, I'd boil this board, and then I'd put it in the peg frame, and then when it broke, that was the shape. Makes sense.
That was going to be my next question, how he came up with the shapes and stuff. Yeah. That's neat. Yeah. Just went till it broke, and then that's what it was.
Yeah. And then other things he had to invent was, if you look at this, if you look at the headstock there. Yeah. So a headstock, if you look at your guitar and this guitar, a headstock needs some back tilt to it. Yeah. Right? And as he would make it, he didn't have any back tilt in the first ones. And so in order to get it to work right, he figured out that was what the problem was. So he just added another board back on here. And trying to string that up inside there, you can see is
it's a little bit difficult.
A little challenging. Yeah. It's possible though. Yeah. And on some of them, he would even drill a hole in the back of that so that you could get in there to get the string on the keys. And these machines and the strings were the only thing he couldn't produce himself. And they were donated by the local music store. Russell, who's in the book here, donated those things to him. And as you go through the book and you look at stuff, like, you'll see where he really did just used like a steak bone off of his dinner plate to make a bridge out of, or a nut out of, and whittled it down. And Ed made, he made guitars, he made what I would call ukuleles, 4-stringed instruments. He made a mandolin, an 8-string instrument. He made fiddles, he made a couple of dulcimers. He tried to make a 12-string, but he ran it as like 3 rows of 4 keys, and it didn't work out, so the 12-string got adapted back to a 6-string. But it's neat to look at what he did and how he put it together. I think that might be the 12-string right there on the cover.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And he would I would say, well, you know, what was your plan? What was your method? What kind of road were you traveling down? He says, I don't know. I just tried. I just tried. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes it'd take me 2 or 3 weeks to get a guitar in tune. But we know when a guitar is in tune, and man only knows when he's in tune.
Yeah.
You know, the only tuner he's got's the good book.
Yeah.
That was his line. So.
Man, he's cool.
Yeah, he is.
Well, do you want to play some on this? Just kind of hear it?
Well, we can see if it'll pick up a little bit. It's not all that loud.
It's very quiet.
The inside.
You can hear the springs.
You can kind of hear that in there. We'll put a slide on. It's easier because it's got such high action.
I saw that too.
Well, and that's another thing is like, you know, getting everything on one plane to be able to have some kind of action, right? Oh, I guess I've got an open tuning. But to be able to have some kind of action's really, really odd. Trying to work them. So this one's got washers in here, right? Which is a way to wash her in or wash her out, or you want to put that action at for how it goes. And you can see how it would, I got it up a little bit higher so it doesn't catch on whatever this tailpiece thing here is, but.
That's so like neat. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry I'm not much of a player as far as slide goes, but you play slide at all?
A little bit. Man, it's heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Let's see.
Now you got to think in hymns, Shane.
Yeah.
There you go. Ed appreciates that, I'm sure.
That is cool. Man.
Yeah, so you see how the back
yeah.
isn't even a solid piece.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on inside this one.
So he's got a saw blade down here. It's got those 2 springs that run across. He's got them tied into the neck.
Yeah, and the saw blade is just enough close to that bridge to actually
acts like that.
come to life. And you can see it sitting on top of a valve cover spring here from the side view. And then he had, I really feel like I was inspired when I came up with the idea of doing the x-rays. Because I knew that the metal, we wanted to take pictures inside of them.
Yeah.
But how do you get the light in there? How do you get the camera in there? And I just had this inspiration of, what will really work is x-rays, because the metal is so much denser than the wood. And when we went and we got the x-rays of all the instruments, then I was able to say, like, you got this pipe here, what is that? And he's like, well, that was a piece of copper pipe. It was in my house, I didn't need, and it wasn't draining anyway. So I was like, but what's it do? And he's like, it helps get the music out. It's like a horn. I was like, okay.
There you go, yeah.
And he thought circularly, and he kind of thought about music as water flowing and stuff, which, waves and stuff, that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And then I saw this little T part up here.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got those in almost all his instruments. And I said, well, what's this guy up here? And he says, oh, that's my jangler. And I'm like, well, what's a jangler? And he's like, well, I'd hollow that out and I'd put a little piece of metal in there so it would kind of, vibrate. And I was like, oh, you're making it sound funky. You're making it sound all rattly. I was like, well, I was just trying anything I could try. And so it was really, really interesting to go in there and see some of the stuff that he did on the insides of them. See, he's got a theme. Here's another one.
Yeah.
Right, there's the ears. That's very similar to the inside of mine. You got a saw blade. Got your jangler up here. Yeah. But then, let's see if I can find the one where, I was talking about the 12 string. So there's the head on the 12 string, how he tried to resolve doing a 12 string. Didn't work.
Right.
But it worked fine as a 6 string with some extra keys, so no reason to throw it away.
Yeah.
Right? This is the very first one that he built after he had his dream. And it's kind of interesting down here the pegs are just nails. These are the same strings he put on it at the very start. And some paneling that they had paneled the bedroom with that was left over. This is the one that she brought this back. It's got these marbles around it.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Sort of jewels there. He'd beautified it a little bit.
He did like a rosette.
Mm-hmm. And the marbles were falling out, so she brought it back to get it fixed, and he put True Faith, True Light, Have God on the side of it, and she didn't really care for that, but it didn't matter what she wanted. Yeah. And then this one's the best player that I ever got to put my hands on. We call this one Anybody's, because one old boy down there in Arkansas found it leaning against the dumpster.
Oh, wow.
And somebody didn't want to throw it away, but they didn't want to keep it, so they put it out by the dumpster, right? And this guy had received one himself, so he knew what it was, so he took it home. And then as you look at this x-ray, you can see there's the bridge.
Yeah.
And the pot lid lines right up in the center of that bridge.
Did it perfect, yeah.
And that's why I think this one's such a great player, is because it got put together where it would work as a resonator guitar.
Yeah.
And this is the guitar owned by the person who found that one. See, threw one ear up inside of it. Lots of different springs in there. It's interesting is that when you go look at some of these old instruments from the 20s and 30s, from when Ed was born, there are banjos out there with banjo-lalies out there, like a ukulele banjo that's got these springs built into them. Oh, I love this picture.
He did like violin. Oh, that is like a violin.
Yeah. So here's the tailpiece on the violin. That is from, the light switch inside his house. And I think that he actually took it out of the light switch and, kind of made his wife angry because the light didn't work after he took it out. And that is a steak bone right off of his dinner plate. to make that one, we got to get to the X-ray part of the book here. Oh yeah, here we go. So that's a can of right guard. And you can see it, through the sound hole.
Very resourceful, like whatever he had, man.
Well, and two, when you go look at it, he'll have used some screws, and there'll be a flathead screw, and there'll be a nail, and there'll be a Phillips head screw, all right next to each other, because that's what's sitting on his desk. He's not trying to make something pretty. He's not trying to make something perfect.
Yeah.
He's just trying to make something, and he doesn't have any money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's all just made out of leftovers and hand-me-downs, and it really, truly is one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah. I love this tailpiece on here. Like, that's so cool. Like, you took the time to bend everything up and around and all of that.
Well, and like I said, this was his final guitar.
Right.
So everything that he learned how to do, the fact that the strings are spaced correctly, the fact that the frets are all on plane with each other.
Yeah.
I could make this a really fine player, but I'm very reticent to change anything that his hands did. But we could we can make this smaller. We could take this action all the way down to regular here, and this will play all the way up to the 12th fret, and with fine intonation.
That's so neat. Well, Tim, I have had a wonderful time getting to talk to you and getting to hear Ed's story. Like, this is cool. This is very, very cool.
Thank you.
And honored that you let me play it, and all of that type of stuff. Like, this is cool. Like, this, as I said at the beginning of the thing, I love stories, and I love hearing people's stories. And this is a story that needs to be known and told more and all of that. Where can people find the book?
It's available on Amazon.
Jeffrey Bezos, look at that.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon. Just look up Gifted, look up Ed Stilley, or look up my name, Tim Hawley. And all that together, and it'll pop right up.
Well, cool. Well, again, thank you so much, sir, for coming by. We appreciate it.
Thanks for telling Ed's story.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Honored to. But thanks for watching. Come hang out with us again sometime.
This train is bound for glory. This train. Well, this train is bound for glory. This train. Yeah, this train. It's bound for glory, don't carry nothing but the righteous and the holy. This train, it's bound for glory, this train. Well, this train, it carries my brother, this train. Yeah, this train, it carries my brother, this train. Yeah, this train, it carries my brother. Same train that took away my father and my mother. This train, it's bound for glory. This train. This train, bound for glory, this train. Yeah, this train, she's bound for glory, this train. Yeah, this train, she's bound for glory, don't carry nothing but the righteous and the holy. This train, she's bound for glory, this train. Yeah, this train, she's bound for glory. This train.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's fun.